Today, I'll show you how to transform your mobile app design from Figma into working apps using Claude Code. This gives you the superpower not only to design apps, but also to build real apps with code. You might have a cool idea for an app and now want to build designs in Figma, but then you don't know how to continue with the coding process. Then this video is just right for you. In the past, the design-to-code process was the point where designers reached their limits. But the good news is, with the help of Claude Code, there is now a possibility to break through this barrier. I've built a system that empowers you to perfectly convert your Figma designs into code, pixel by pixel. You can use it as a starting point for any new project. And it not only saves you time, but also streamlines your entire workflow. And in this video, I'll show you in detail, step by step, exactly how you can achieve that. By the way, I am Josh. I am a designer with more than 10 years of professional experience, and my system is already used by more than 80,000 designers in Figma. And now, let's dive in. Every design process begins with you opening Figma, creating initial frames, starting to create components, and beginning to visualize your idea in app screens. It's important to understand that every mobile app is made up of the same basic building blocks. These are components such as buttons, input fields, and navigation. You can simplify this initial process at this point by not starting from scratch but using a ready-made design system. A design system already includes a multitude of components with various editing options. You can adapt these to your needs with just a few clicks. Is your brand color blue, for example? Then simply change the color of the components to the color you need for your project. Dynamic Layer is the perfect starting point for a new mobile app project. You'll find a free download link to the design system in the description. All you have to do is download the file. Extract the folder you receive. Included are two things: a Figma file and a folder containing the code of the design system. Next, drag the Figma file into your Figma dashboard. It contains a wide variety of basic components that you'll need for virtually any project. And the best part? All components are pixel perfect and cleanly programmed in Flutter code. This means you can use the button component, for example, not only for Figma, but also for programming iOS and Android apps. Flutter allows you to develop hybrid applications for both iOS and Android simultaneously. Before we can start with Claude Code, we will first build a new screen together in Figma, and then I will show you how to create it as a programmed screen in Flutter. To do this, we create a new frame in Figma and click on Assets on the left. Then, we select Dynamic Layer and search for the components we need for our screen, starting with the basic structure of the status bar and home indicator. These form the foundation of our screen. Here's another tip. Define the correct operating system for these components right away. With Dynamic Layer, you're designing iOS and Android apps simultaneously. This means you can switch between the different systems with just one click. You should also define the breakpoints correctly. To do this, select the frame we're designing on and define a width and height. Now you can easily switch between smartphone and tablet with a single click. Now we'll start creating our actual design. We'll find a top navigation bar, drag it into our screen, and place it at the top. We'll define a title, search for a chevron icon for the left side, and disable the icon on the right. Next, we search for an input field and drag it into our screen. We give it suitable placeholder text, duplicate it, and place it further down. We also give this duplicate suitable placeholder text and activate an icon on the right. We're looking for an eye icon here, as it will be a password input field. Next, we search for a button component and place it back into our screen. Again, we adjust the text and copy the component. We then define more text, and this time select a different button type. Then we select all the elements and combine them using auto layout. We define appropriate margins to the sides and the spacing between the elements themselves. And don't forget to give our components the appropriate width. All elements will be assigned a full width so they scale to the entire size of our screen. Finally, we select our entire content group and define the appropriate width. This allows our design to automatically adapt to the different breakpoints. Thorough preparation in Figma is important so that you know exactly what information you need to provide to Claude Code in the next step, ensuring you get a clean code file. Before we can begin implementing our finished Figma design with Claude Code, we need to make a few preparations. You'll need the correct setup on your computer. This might seem complicated at first glance, but don't worry. We'll go through each point step by step and I'll show you in detail what you need to do. Once you've set up the system, you won't have to do this step again. First, open your terminal. You can find it using Spotlight Search on your Mac. If you've never used it before, it may seem a little overwhelming at first. But don't worry, it's not as complicated as it looks. First, copy this command and paste it into the terminal. You'll also find all terminal commands in the video description. The terminal will ask for your Mac password. When you type it, you won't see any characters appear. That's normal. Just type it in blindly and press Enter. During the installation, you'll be asked to press Enter. To continue, you'll need to do that. The installation will take a few minutes. You'll need a little patience and let your computer do the work. But after a few minutes, the installation will be complete. Next, we'll install Git. Git is a tool that lets you download and manage code projects. To do that, type brew install git, press Enter, and wait a few minutes until the installation is complete. To test whether everything worked, you can type git version. If a version number is shown, everything was installed successfully. Now comes Flutter. Flutter is the framework Dynamic Layer is built with. It's the technology that allows your app to run on both iOS and Android. The advantage is that you only need one codebase for both platforms, so you're building for both operating systems at the same time. That saves time and money during development. The installation is simple. Type brew install Flutter into the terminal and wait a few more minutes. Once the installation is successful, we'll move on to Xcode. Xcode is Apple's development environment. We need it to test our app in the iOS simulator. It's basically a virtual iPhone on your Mac. Xcode is about 15 gigabytes in size. Depending on your internet connection, the download may take a while. All you need to do is open the App Store, search for Xcode, and install it. The installation will take a few minutes. You'll need a little patience and let your computer do the work. Once Xcode has finished installing, open it once and accept the license agreement. After that, we'll go back to the terminal and run this command. You'll find it again in the video description. You'll be asked for your password again. And after that, we'll enter this command into the terminal. Next, we'll also install the iOS simulator. It mirrors a real iPhone on your Mac and will help you test your app later on. This installation will also take a little while. And finally, we'll install COCOAPODS. To do that, we enter the following command in the terminal, run it, and wait until the installation is complete. Next, we'll install Android Studio so that we can test our app on Android as well. To do that, we open the following website and download the latest version. After the download, we need to install it on our Mac. Once the installation is complete, we open Android Studio for the first time and click through the initial setup steps. This setup may also take a little time. After that, we create a new project, click Next, and then Finish. The Android Studio development environment opens, and we click on Device Manager on the right. Then we click on Create Virtual Device. There, you'll see a list of different Android devices to choose from. We'll select the Google Pixel 9 and install it. Now we can also test our app on an Android device. Next, we need to open the Android Studio settings and install the Android SDK. To do that, we click on Android SDK and then SDK Tools. There, we select Android SDK command line tools and install them. Next, we switch back to the terminal and install the Android licenses there. Here, you'll need to confirm the input a few times by typing Y and submitting it. After that, we run the command Flutter Doctor. This shows us whether all installations were completed successfully. At this point, all checkmarks should appear green. If that's not the case, I recommend copying the full text and pasting it into an AI chat. It can give you a detailed analysis of any errors. Next, we install Node using the command brew install node. We need this so Claude Code can work. After the installation, you can check whether everything worked by entering node version. If a version number is shown, you did everything correctly. Now that we've prepared everything, you'll need to choose a suitable Claude Code subscription. You can choose between a Pro plan and a Max plan. Once you've decided on a subscription, we'll install Claude on our computer using the following command. After the installation, type Claude into the terminal. You'll then be asked whether you want to work in dark mode. We'll confirm that now by pressing Enter. Then you'll be asked which subscription plan you have. We'll choose the first option here. Then you'll need to sign in with your Claude account. Once that works, Claude will ask whether you want to keep the default settings and whether you trust Claude. After you confirm everything, Claude Code will be successfully installed on your computer. Now we switch back to our terminal and type cd. Right after that, we drag the code folder from our downloads into the terminal and confirm with Enter. What happens here is that we're telling the computer to work only inside that folder. Next, we type Claude as a command into the terminal and confirm. We tell Claude that it can trust the folder. After that, Claude is ready to work inside our code file. Next, we will give Claude the information he needs to recreate our design from Figma in code. To do this, we need to describe exactly how our design looks in Figma. We need to tell it what the layout looks like, which components we used, and the spacing between the individual elements. In our example, the command looks like this. Build a new app screen. This screen is for the login process of our app. The screen has a top navigation bar at the top. The title is I have an account, and there's a chevron left icon on the left side for going back. Below the top navigation bar is a content wrapper containing 2 input fields and 2 buttons. The entire content wrapper has a 16-pixel margin on all sides, and the elements within the content area also have a 16-pixel margin between them. The first input field has the placeholder text email. The second input field has the text password and is used for password entry and has an iClosed icon on the right. Clicking the iClosed icon displays the password. It is obscured beforehand. The first button is a primary button with the text, Continue. The second button is a tertiary button with the text, Forgot Password. After you have built our new screen, open the screen in the Xcode simulator so that I can look at the design. So, finally, let's enter the text into Claude and start the command. This might take a little while, and Claude might ask if it has access to certain areas of your folder, or if it can start the iOS simulator for you. You'll need to confirm all of this. And then, if everything worked, you should be able to test the finished design. For comparison, on the left, we see the design we created in Figma, and on the right, our code version created with Claude Code, fully functional and pixel perfect. And that brings us to the end of this video. You now have the option to build your Figma designs into a fully functional app using Claude Code. This breaks down the barrier between design and code, and as a designer, you're no longer limited to creating your app only with Figma. You can find all the resources as a free version in the video description, and with that, I wish you lots of fun creating your new app.